Hello and welcome everyone, KnitChats. I am your coach Genevieve here today to walk you through Ladderback Jacquard. We may have some folks popping in and out during this, but got some other coaches online as well. Super excited to walk you through the Ladderback Jacquard technique. So I'm just gonna dive right in. If you're watching this on the recording, you can gather yourself a couple colors of worsted weight yarn and some circular needles. Any size that is great will do. I think I've got some sevens here that I am working on. They might be sixes, 6 or 7, 8, something in that range is great. Super casual. I'm gonna give you a little overview of some of what Ladderback Jacquard is, and then do a little knitting demo and walk you through some of the specific techniques on video so that you have that and you can apply it to your projects. Uh, so I'm gonna just jump right in. So Ladderback Jacquard is a color work technique. So other color work techniques that you've probably come across are stranded or fair isle. Maybe you've even ventured into intarsia. But Ladderback Jacquard is a really nice technique that creates kind of a second layer on the back. It's not like double knitting, which is another two-color technique, but and it's really great when you have chunks, large chunks of color alternating. So like today, I'm going to walk us through doing like a little checkerboard swatch because it's just a little easier to sort of visualize in the math. But you can also use ladderback when you have, some other motif with large chunks of color kind of working. So hopefully this will give you a good intro into that. And I'll show you that. Now, there's a couple ways to work that we, tend to knit our pieces, like whether we're making hats or stuff in the round, or sometimes we're doing them flat. I'm going to go a little deeper and give you the flat version of Ladderback Jacquard and point out where, like, when you're working in the round, you only have to do half of that. But I'm going to show you both. So if you've got some yarn and needles ready and you want to cast on 30 stitches for a swatch, that would be great. I've got my 30 stitches cast on and just pick, one of your colors. I'm going to be working with black and white today so that we have lots of contrast. And yeah, so we're going to go from there. So um, there are a couple of different technique, like ways you can approach doing ladder back. And so I'm going to show you those in detail with different ways of increasing stitches. Hopefully you have some experience doing increases in knitting. And other than that, you don't have to have acquired a ton of other skills to be able to try the ladder back, but we will be doing some um, through the back loop kind of stitches, which again, you don't have to do all of them exactly like this. There's a lot of flexibility with Ladderback Jacquard. So I'm going to share my camera, which will hopefully continue to cooperate here. And you see I got my black and my white, and I've cast on 30 stitches in black. And again, I'm just kind of making a little checkerboard swatch today is what we're going to go with, but there's a lot of different kinds of patterns that you might find ladder back useful for that we can also talk about. All right. So sometimes, your pattern, like depending on where your new color is going to get introduced, you may need to add it in at different points. But I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can start to build ladders. And thanks for folks who are just popping in and joining as we go along here, doing a live class recording. So we'll keep the flow moving. So if you have your 30 stitches cast on, one thing that you can do is you could just knit a row regular on this swatch. Okay, so we can just knit one row, and that is gonna enable us to have a little bit of something to work some increases into on the next row. And so we'll consider this one um, just kind of like a freebie, just to get a little bit more there. Now, if you needed to start a different color and start building ladders sooner, there's another technique that we can use that I'll show you with just yarn over increases, but I'm gonna show you the more difficult one first, which is some make ones, and I wanna have something to make one into, which is why I'm gonna knit a whole row. And we're just experimenting with this swatch, so there's not following a particular pattern in this case. I'm just trying to show you and give you a little hands-on to a few different techniques. Okay, so I just knit across the first row just to give myself a little work with. And now I'm going to go to the next row and I'm going to show you. So since I knit that row, I'm going to try to build this in sort of stockinette. And so now I'm on a wrong side row where I'm going to build in some ladders. So there's a couple ways that you can like start establishing your second color. It's possible that, you know, you have already joined and maybe be alternating your colors or working it in. It really depends on like what's going on with the pattern, but I'll just show you like joining it in midway. So I am gonna start by purling because I'm on now the wrong side. I'm gonna purl a few stitches in black, and then I'm gonna show you how to create the start of a ladder. So like we are just diving all the way in real fast here, and then we can pop back out and talk a little bit more about these, but getting it set up. And then once you start to see it, it might make a little more sense. So I just purled 5 black stitches here, and I want to start adding in the white. So I want to do maybe a chunk of 5 white stitches and just sort of alternating. Now in a typical, you know, sort of stranded approach, maybe, you know, I just start knitting with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just start purling the white in to add the second color. I haven't built any ladders yet, just sort of like showing you one way of like we start knitting. And why you might want to do ladders. So I have this big chunk here, and if I want to keep alternating black and white stitches, what's going to happen is I'm going to have, you know, this long kind of float of the second color along the back, right? If I was approaching this in a stranded knitting sort of way. The benefit of having ladder is like it's not carrying the floats or capturing floats like we might be used to in stranded, but it's a way to capture your carry the yarn that you're carrying across large sections. So let's say I wanted to actually do like 10 whites in a row here, and that's a pretty long float to carry of the black. What I'm gonna do is actually introduce a ladder stitch here. And the ladder stitches are actually something that form like along the back of your work and carry up and keep themselves separate. And the benefit also is that they don't show through to the other side. And so we'll see that. So I'm going to show you the make one approach of creating this ladder. So what I can do is I'm going to just do like a make one left into this next stitch here. So that is a pick up the bar approach where you insert your right hand needle from back to front into that bar of the stitch between the stitches and slip it over to your left hand needle, and then you knit that through the back loop. But I'm gonna actually um, knit that with my black yarn because that's what I want the ladder to be. So I'm going to I'm actually gonna, before I do that, I'm gonna move my black yarn kind of to the back here and pick up that bar so that I can knit that stitch through the back loop in the black. Hopefully you can see that. I know I'm working with black and white on this white background. Hopefully that was clear. We'll work some in white and do the same thing so you can see it again, in case that wasn't. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of trying to work this large block of white, uh, and I'm gonna make sure that my black yarn sort of stays in the front since I'm on this back like purling side. And I'm gonna go ahead and purl a few more white stitches. So really all I was doing there by creating this extra ladder stitch is creating a little holder for my long black float here on this back side. And it's so that presented by looking like we're creating another stitch on the needle, but what we'll see as we keep going, and it won't be evident right away, is that this will kind of fade itself into the background of this chunk, okay? This is a trust the process moment. I know this is just like a lot. If you're rewatching this and you might feel lost, and that's okay. And just watch this part, and I'm going to show you other approaches as well. So even if this feels like too much, it just go with it for now. Trust me, and, and we'll come back. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch to working maybe a big chunk of black stitches in my work. So I just did 5 blacks and then I did 10 whites, and now I'm gonna do 10 blacks. And I am not gonna build a ladder when I change colors. I'm just gonna change colors. Because it naturally, this white is already attached here. I am working on the wrong side, so that's why I'm purling. And I'm going to go ahead and purl 5 stitches. Now it's getting, kind of long. 5 is a pretty long gap, right? Like usually when we're capturing floats and doing that kind of color work, I wouldn't go over 5 stitches. We could create more ladders, and I'll show you, we'll do that a little bit too to maybe shorten some of these, but right now we're only putting them every 5 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to create another ladder, and I'm going to do it. I want the ladder to be in my color I'm hiding, so that's why this case, it's going to be the white in this black color block. So I'm going to move that white yarn to back. I'm going to pick up this bar of stitch, okay, and slip it over there. And then I'm going to knit that new bar stitch through the back loop here with the white yarn. Move that white yarn back into the front here and continue purling with my black. I really started with like the hardest thing first, kind of to just get it out of the way and sort of get it established. And then I'm gonna slowly get easier, which is a little bit maybe backwards of a way, but I wanted to go with it this way so you can kind of see like the differences and how they'll shape up.
So
Okay, so I
Genevieve,
finished pulling that row. Yeah.
so when you change in colors,
Hmm.
you're not worrying about whether you're coming up from underneath, like whether you like some kind of twist or coming up from underneath the other color, or when it's just colors, you just switch. You're not doing any kind of special actions to switch colors, right?
Right. When I change colors, I mean, it's usually old over new. And, but no, I didn't really pay too much attention there. Where I switched colors, I just kind of picked up the other one. And it doesn't really matter which way they cross. Their crossing is just kind of naturally twist them. So yeah, I didn't do any extra kind of twisting. Yep. I just went ahead and did black through the rest of the end of this row. just because I only built a couple ladders in this row and I want to build maybe a couple more into the next time and show you how to add them when you're on the right side. So again, we're working this swatch flat, and so you're getting to see the ladder back approach on both sides. Now, if you're working in the round, like on a hat and using ladder back, then it's actually a lot easier because you only have to do half of these. So kind of giving you the both. All right, and so now what I'm gonna do is I turn the row, I'm on the right side here. The swatch is gonna slowly become more stockinette and it'll become a little easier to see as well as we keep going. And I'm gonna start by knitting, I'm gonna knit 5 black, and then show you, okay, actually I want maybe this 5 to be white here, on this, and show you how to add it in for the right side. And um, so again, changing color, I can just start knitting with that other color. And actually I only knit 4 stitches in black. And I'm going to show you maybe pulling another ladder in the middle of this 6 stitch section, uh, where I'm going to do in white. So I'm going to just kind of grab my white over here, and this is again kind of a weird, like, random swatch. I don't know too many patterns that end up like pulling in different colors like this, but we're just kind of going with it. Um, okay, so I have 3 white stitches, so now I've decided to knit in white, and I kind of want to keep carrying my black along with it. And I want to create another ladder here. So I'm going to show you from the right side, the pick up the bar. So I'm going to actually move my black yarn to the front, and I'll show you why in a moment. And then we're going to do another pick up the bar, sort of make one left action. Actually, yep. And then this one I want, because I'm on the right side, technically you might want to purl through the back loop on this, but you could also just do it through the back loop. Ultimately, your ladder is gonna look like knit stitches on the wrong side if you were to do the purl through the back loop, but it also kind of doesn't matter. It's not gonna change whether it shows or hides. It's really just like the ultimately most refined version. So again, leading with the hard stuff. So I am gonna purl this through the back loop. So I kind of grab that little loop there and I move my yarn to the front. I'm purling and I'm building that ladder in black because that's what I'm gonna hide. Um, oh, and then I just realized I forgot to bring my white to the front also. So when creating a ladder, so I'm gonna undo that. Let's back up. Okay. So when you're on the right side, you actually want to move both of them to the front, because in this case, I want the white to carry in front of this ladder that I'm going to create and work. And in order for it to be hidden, it has to be in the front too. Okay, so rewind, back up, move both our yarns to the front. Then we're going to pick up this bar and I'm going to purl it through the back loop with the black, and then I'll move both my yarns to the back. And this way you can see that this white yarn is carrying in front of this little ladder stitch that we just created, so that I'm just carrying the black in the back and I'm hiding it, and I'm gonna go ahead and knit these 3 white. Okay, so now I hit a ladder stitch because I had added that one before, and I had this long strip of black. We're kind of changing colors sort of ad hoc here. So it actually, like when you have one of these in between color changing, it doesn't matter what you knit it, and you probably wouldn't have that there. So I can also eliminate that one. I just wanted to show you that on the other side, but for funsies, we can like keep the ladder there and eliminate it later just to show you kind of how it disappears. Um, so uh, to remove a ladder, when you come to a ladder stitch, you can actually just knit it together with the next stitch in the color that you want to ultimately show in the front, which in this case was the black. And then it actually is gonna hide that one. So we added a ladder and then I got rid of it. So we can kind of ignore that for now. I'm gonna show you how to get rid of them again later, how to finish off your ladders. I just wanted to show you that how to build the ladders on the purl side piece and get that out of the way. And then we'll just add them on the knit side for a little bit. Okay, so I've got 4 black stitches and then I have 6 white stitches in my pattern here. This black stitch is a ladder stitch. And then I've got these, I'm going to do 5. I've got 5 blacks, but let's say I want to add another ladder so that I only have 5. Um, and not carrying such a big float across the back. So what I can do is say, okay, I've knit 3. Now, instead of just carrying like stranded where you would just keep switching, when we're adding in ladders, it's going to create a little framework in the back for us. So I want to show you another way to add a new ladder stitch, which is you can actually just work it as a yarn over on this row and then grab the other color on the next row. Uh, so I could just add another, it's basically just saying, okay, we're putting in an increase. I want it to be there. And then I'll build my other color in later. But because we already kind of have both colors going, the yarn over approach is almost better at the beginning, when you're just like establishing a whole set of ladders. So we might even skip that for now. But it's basically just an increase that you want to knit into. And so that's why when we're doing this pick up the bar method, kind of have the yarn already there and prepared. So when you're on the right side, picking up the bar, you move both our yarns to the front, pick up a bar here. I want my ladder to be in white. So I am going to purl this through the back loop. So we have the bar. To purl through the back loop, I kind of grab the back of the stitch and it creates this like kind of twist and pull it to the front, purl, and drop it over. And that keeps the main color going in the front. And then I can move them both back. The main color of this section being the black. Okay, and now I did a little block of 5 black stitches, but I added a little white ladder stitch in there in the middle. So we'll start to see after we have to get a couple more rows before we're going to start to really like see the ladder build and sort of fade into the background. Okay, and now I'm going to just switch colors. So I kind of just let my black drop over. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to create a new ladder in the middle of this 5 white stitches. So I have these 3 white stitches. Now I'm going to move both yarns to the front. And I'm going to do a pick up the bar. My bar is white this time. This will be a little easier to see. And then I'm going to purl that ladder that I'm creating through the back loop. Again, I kind of just grab my needle and kind of hook the back side of that loop there, so that creates a nice twist. So when I purl, It's now connected, and then I move both the yarns back to the back and carry on with the main color that I'm knitting in this block. And again, I had shown like creating this ladder on the other side, but now I'm gonna change colors again so that I just kind of keep alternating a few stitches of black and white. So I want to change these to black, and I want to get rid of this ladder so I can just knit this together in white. Uh, Actually, I can knit it together in black. I wanted to change this to black. Okay. So, um, kind of ad hoc here. I feel this is a little confusing, but hopefully it'll make more sense as you keep going. Okay, so I have kind of this big section of black at the end here. I maybe want to throw in another ladder in white. So again, if you're on the right side, you can move both yarns to the front, pick up the bar, and oops, cut the string there, and purl that through the back loop to create and establish the ladder. Move them back to front. It's a little easier to kind of see when you're creating the ladders on the right side and making sure that they're going to disappear in this way. And then to end. Okay. So that was a very intense intro into how to create the ladders like on both sides in flat by picking up the bar. But I want to show you like if that was way too much, I want to actually show you an easier approach. Okay, so kind of why I started with this like crazy hard thing is because that is absolutely a way to do it and it works. But it was probably overwhelming. And so there's an easier way. So I'm actually going to like totally start over and show you the easier way. So I'm just going to pull this out and quickly recast on 30 new stitches here. And we can come back to going into that again after I show you the easy way. But I wanted to kind of show you just some of those approaches, and then you can come back to it. And then we'll be at the beginning. Okay, so okay, so you have just casted on 30 stitches, and maybe if you yeah, want to back up to that point, the whole other part being a mess, we're going to start from the beginning again and show you a simpler way. So what we're going to do on this first row is I also am trying to translate a little bit of like showing you on this flat piece to how you might approach doing this in the round where you only have to do ladders, you only have to do it one way, but because we're doing it flat, I'm gonna purl this first row instead of knitting it so that we can do the next one on the right side and uh, we'll do some yarn over increases. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just working with the one color here, I'm gonna purl across this row and I want to put my ladders let's see, we've got 30 stitches. We'll say we're gonna do blocks of 6 alternating black and white, so we'll have 5 of them. And so I'm gonna want maybe a ladder in the middle of each of those. So I am gonna purl 3 stitches and then I'm gonna do a yarn over. Okay, and then purl another 3 stitches. And then this would be like if in my pattern I've got, 6 black, then maybe my white starts here and I have a color change, so I don't need a ladder. So I'm gonna just purl another 3 stitches and then yarn over. So it's purl 3, yarn over, purl 6, yarn over, and then I'm gonna repeat that to the end. Purl 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm yarn over, purl 6, yarn over, 6, yarn over, and I'm going to purl the last 3. And that is like our little setup row. Now, if you were working in the round, maybe you're always knitting and placing your yarn overs where you're going to want your ladders. Okay, so that was a little bit of setup, and now we're gonna do introducing the second color on this next row. Okay, so we are gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna start with black, so I'm gonna knit 3, and then now I've come to a yarn over stitch where we're going to introduce the ladder. Now, because it's like flat, I actually don't need to attach the white into this side because that's all going to be a black block, but for fun, we'll still do it. So because we're on the right side, we can knit this yarn over through the back loop, and I'm going to knit it with my white, which is the color I want to hide. And um, because we're on the right side, I think I can just put that in there like that. Oh, no, sorry, I'm wrong. I do want to purl it. Okay. Yes, we want to bring both of the yarns to the front for the ladders on the right side. Got a little confused with the flat versus the round. Okay, so when we're on the right side, we want to bring that color that's going to carry across the front to the front and leave it to the right. And then our new color, and we're going to do that purl through the back loop of this yarn over now. So earlier when I was showing you the pick up the bar, that's where we kind of did it without the setup row, but now we have the yarn overs there where we want the ladders. But I still want the ladders to sit behind the other stitches, and so that's why I wanted to bring these to front, and then I'll bring them back to the back, and that white ladder stitch is going to get hidden behind there. Okay, so now I'm going to knit these 3 in black. So I basically I'm going to have this set of 6 stitches in black, and that is just a ladder stitch, which eventually goes away. And now I'm going to do 6 stitches in white. So I am just going to cross fold over new and knit my 3 here, because then I have another set up yarn over from the last time. So again, right side, bring both yarns to the front. I want this white to continue across these 6 white stitches. So I want to have it to be to the right, and I'm going to purl this yarn over through the back loop. Okay, and then move my yarns to back. So it is important that that white is crossing over that ladder stitch so that it gets hidden in the back and it doesn't show through. Okay, next I'm gonna do 6 stitches in black. So I'm just gonna cross old over new, knit to my newly created base of the ladder here. Move both of those to the front. Again, I want the black to carry across here, so I want to make sure it's to the right and to the front. Now you could also knit this ladder through the back loop if you don't want to purl it through the back loop with your color that you're hiding, but it looks a little nicer if you purl it through the back loop. So again, to purl through the back loop, when I have this yarn over, so the right half is in the front, I kind of take my needle and hook the back half of it so it creates this nice little twist. You can see that, and then purl it. And so it's kind of attaching, and then I move those both to the back. We are working the 6 stitches in black. Okay, now we're gonna do 6 stitches in white. So I'm gonna just cross old over new and switch to the white. Doing the same thing. Okay, move these both to the front to work the ladder. Again, keeping that white to the right. Purl this through the back loop in the color we're hiding. In this case, it's black. Move them both to the back. Finish those 3 stitches in the white. My last little section here is going to be all black. Now here's where a little optimization, if I'm just working the edge of this little swatch in black always, I don't need to carry the white over here. So I could actually have not done this yarn over setup stitch and not do the ladder. And I can also just eliminate it right now. So I'm just going to knit it together with this next stitch to eliminate that ladder. Now, so it's easier to do a knit two together to get rid of those when you have the ladder in front of the other one. We'll show you more close off the ladder later too. Okay, so I'm gonna just knit those last 6 stitches to the end. Okay, so what we're forming here is a little alternating checkers of 6 stitches black, 6 stitches white, 6 stitches black, 6 stitches white, 6 stitches black. Now, this extra different colored stitch in the middle of these blocks is our ladder stitch that we've established. And so we don't count it as a stitch. It doesn't show up in our chart and it's not part of our pattern. It just kind of temporarily lives on the needle. Now, when I'm doing this like balanced checkerboard, it'll be kind of easy to see where those are. And I know that I place them every 3 stitches. In a more complex charted pattern that's changing the shapes sometimes, you want to maybe keep your ladder in the same place, but it won't always be the same amount on either side. And hopefully you'll be able to see where that ladder is that you've created and not treat it like another stitch in your chart. But that's something to be aware of depending on the complexity of your color work. Okay, so I'm just turning row here and we're working a little stockinette swatch. So I'm gonna purling along on this side. So I got my 6 black stitches. I'm just gonna cross old over new to work my 6 white, and we're gonna show you the ladder on the wrong side here. So I've got my 3 white, and I know that I'm working the 6 white, and so I know this is a ladder stitch. To work it on the wrong side, I want to move both my yarns to back, and I want to make sure that white is going to stay all the way to the back, which is like the right side. And then I'm going to actually knit this ladder through the back loop. So we're always working it kind of backwards to where the rest of our piece is. And then I'll move both of these yarns back to front here because I'm purling. And I worked this little ladder stitch in my contrasting color, and it's all staying on this side of it. And so my white yarn here is carrying across that. And so that's what's going to keep that ladder hidden as we keep going. Okay, so I'm gonna now continue, purl the last three whites. Gonna just cross old over new here. Switching to the black section. Because we're working the wrong side, I'm purling with my main color of the block. And when I want to work my ladder stitch, I knit it through the back loop on the wrong side. So again, move my yarns to back. And again, that black I want to be all the way to the back here. So then I just knit this ladder stitch in white through the back loop. And then bring both my yarns back to front here. So again, that black is crossing over that white ladder stitch so that it gets hidden later. Okay, and then purl across. So we're starting to see the ladders form a little bit. We might need to get a couple more rows for you to really see it develop. We're going to keep going in this way. So I cross old over new. I'm going to keep purling my little white chunk here, come to another black ladder stitch. You know, the clue, it's a little hard to tell because it's black on black, but you know that I have this my little ladder like float collecting here. So I'm going to move these to back. Keep that white all the way back there. So I knit this through the back loop, move them back to front. Purl my three whites. Okay, and so now I'm in my last little section on the edge here of just black. I had added in the white just to kind of show you, but now I want to get rid of it. Because I don't really need to keep carrying this ladder anymore. So I can actually get rid of it on the right side. It'll be a little easier. So we'll just keep it for now, but then I'll show you I don't really need it. So because I don't really need to carry the white over to this edge, but just you can kind of see the ladder forming there. So we'll get rid of it on the next row. Back to front. Oh. 10 million will not slip out. Okay. For all these last three stitches. Okay, so this is the wrong side of the work, and we can start to see with these little like floats going across here, these are the ladders, right? So that's why it's called the ladder back, because the ladder is on the back, and the little posts of the sides of the ladders are what are forming here, coming off of those stitches that we have added in. And in this example, I showed you how to add them in on the previous row with yarn overs, but in earlier when we started this, I was showing you how to do a pick up the bar and add them. And I think my math was a little off, so sorry for that confusion. But you generally want to put your ladders in between, like probably every 3 or 4 stitches, 5. You could go up to 5 as well to build that. So now when I turn it over, we're back onto the right side here, and we can see our checkerboard starting to form. And again, these ladder stitches that we have, our little ladder posts, are only living on the needle, but they're gonna just keep disappearing. So we're gonna close off this extra ladder that we have going on here because we don't really need the white over there. So again, to eliminate a ladder, when you come to that stitch, you just knit it together with the next stitch. And that's gonna just show you a brief ladder, and it's gonna completely disappear behind those. And that's what will happen at the end as well. Okay, and when we change colors, we're just crossing old over new. We're gonna knit. Okay, so we're on the right side, which means we want to purl our ladder stitch through the back loop. And so we bring both yarns to the front. And again, you want this white to stay in front, which is why it has to come along as well. And then I can purl this through the back loop, my little ladder stitch there, move it to the back, and keep going. So just sort of repeating. And now we're just changing colors. Here's another ladder stitch. Move them both to the front. Keep that black so it stays in front while I work my ladder stitch. Now I'm purling it through the back loop, which is gonna make it look like a little knit from the wrong side. If you knit it through the back loop, it might just look a little more like a purl ladder, which is totally fine because it's on the back and hidden anyway, depending on if you want to work it that way or not. Okay, so I'm just trying to crank through this row a little faster to show you how you don't see any evidence of that ladder showing through to the right side. I don't see anything black here, and I don't see anything white here. But my ladder stitch is just kind of moving up because on the back, I have this little ladder thing growing. So I'm just trying to show you that. So I like to move these both together, roll this ladder stitch, this to the back. And then I'm at the end here where I just have black going, so I don't need to carry the white over to the edge. Now, if you are working in the round, you'd probably keep going with your ladders all the way around, and you'd only ever have to do the move to the front and purl through the back loop because you'd always be working the right side if you're in the round. But you can now start to see this checker showing up here and how those ladders are hidden. And then when I flip it over, we're really seeing this little spine that is growing of these ladder. And it's easier to see here on the white that they kind of look like knit stitches because I purled them through the back loop on the wrong side and knit them through the back loop on this side. They're kind of like a little twisted spine. So we'll just keep going and work across this one row. White, I cross old over new so that links in at the color change there. A little more awkward in the flat just with the purling and the switching back and forth. But again, when you are purling, you do the opposite where you move both your yarns to the back, make sure that they aren't getting twisted and that color you want to show to the front stays in front. And then you can knit this ladder stitch through the back loop. I keep purling with it. And we're going to continue along in this way all the way across. Move that to the back. Black's the color that's showing. I'm working the ladder. So really you're like knitting this little spine. And continue along. Colors here. Here I am at a ladder. This through the back loop. Bring these back to the front. Sometimes I kind of carry them both just for ease, make it a little faster. Depends on how you like to hold all of the things. Ah, it's not all tangled here. Oh my. Okay. Sorry. Not sure why this got all tangled up. Hopefully you're not running into such tangles. It shouldn't tangle too much, unlike when you are working Fair Isle or stranded. Uh, I don't find that this usually tangles so much, despite what just happened. I think that was from earlier. Okay, so I just wanted to get to the end of this row and really show you how it's looking here. Okay, so we have our little, this is the back, the wrong side. We have our little spines growing in the middle of our blocks here, our little ladders. That's why it's called ladder back. And then when I turn it over, we have our really nice like checker really filling out here. And you can see how you can't see that other color poking through. And um, the black and white really shows that nice. So it does, create a little thicker of a fabric here because you have this extra layer, kind of these floats with these little spines connecting it. But it is a nice, really clean look. Um, that is a little bit different than stranded. That's the kind of technique, the two color that it really contrasts with. And especially when you have these like even like checkery blocks, or large sections where you maybe even have multiple ladders of a color that you're carrying along the back, it can be a little bit nicer than floats. And some floats in stranded have a tendency to show through to the other side. So I wanted to show you how to close off the ladders again to wrap us up here. And I've done it a couple of times, but I wanted more explicitly to kind of show you once you like get to the end and you've completed your whole block and your whole swatch and you're done using the other color there, um, how you can get rid of the ladders and tie them up. And sometimes, I'll create and close off ladders if the color blocks are moving a lot in my pattern and what I'm working. You might have a need to do that more than just at the beginning of the end. It really depends on the pattern. So you technically have two options. I could slip knit it together with the stitch ahead, but I think knit two together is easier. So I just knit up to my ladder and I'm going to say, okay, I'm done with this. And I'm just going to knit it together with that next stitch. And it's literally going to kind of hide it there in the back and eliminate it. And then it'll just kind of end. And it would just be this little standalone ladder there. If I like kept going, up more rows, and let's say, the whole thing was all white or whatever, and then it would just kind of be hidden in the back like that. So same thing. Could do that with the black here and just, we're gonna eliminate the ladder again. You just can knit that ladder stitch together and that makes it go away. And you can go back to doing that, make one, pick up the bar, adding the ladders wherever you want as well. It's a little easier to do that technique when you're starting new ladders in different sections. Let's say you've worked up a bunch in one color and now you have a little color block of something that you want to do that ad hoc. It's a little easier to make one in the moment as opposed to doing the yarn over method, but they are both the same where I can just pick up the yarn. And again, if it's on the right side, you want to make sure that you move both your yarns to front before picking up a bar to create a ladder with the purl through the back loop. So I could create one there. Let's say I wanted it to be every 2 stitches in this block rather than every 3. So this is kind of like a moving the ladder situation. So I like end this ladder, but then I want to create another one here. Pick up that bar, and you're always picking it up in the color that you want to hide. And then keep knitting. So there I kind of did a mix of creating 2 new ladders and eliminating one. And on the back, it'll kind of move around a little bit, but then there would be 2 spines building up from there. And this one ended. You kind of see that. So that, in a nutshell, in a very intensive, fast way, is how to do ladderback jacquard um, without us tying it to any specific pattern. But definitely, if you have patterns that you are wondering if ladderback would be an appropriate method and you want to experiment with it, the individual actions that I've shown you in this video will help you show how to do that. And you can definitely check in with us coaches here or with me, and I can let you know if your pattern would be a good candidate for ladderback jacquard, if it's something you want to try, and which different techniques you may need to utilize for that. I know we have a couple folks maybe here on the call. If you had any questions, I am happy to answer them now.
No, just thank you so much for going through that.
Awesome. Hopefully, it made sense. I know it is kind of a different technique than we're used to with a lot of the other things, and hopefully the high contrast color yarn, you could see it okay, and it showed you well enough. So awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining, especially those of you that are going to catch up on this on the recording. Please feel free to reach out to me on the chats anytime with any follow-up questions. Be happy to answer them. So thanks so much for being here today. See you in the chats.